Alright, we're going to talk about control on DM2, and we're going to spend a lot of this video talking about how to most effectively lock down this tele area. Okay, because it is important, and it has a yellow. It leads to the high, the GL, the mega, and the quad. Okay, so I think it's quite obvious that this is an important area, not just to rack up frags, but to control access to a lot of the most important resources on this map. When I think about control on DM2, I guess I think about it in terms of if you were, let's say, the only rocket launcher on the map. Hopefully it's obvious why just sitting down here at tele wouldn't be the best approach, right? Because you've got a quad here that you need to fight over. So, maybe I take the quad and then I can use that quad to, secure a weapon. So I can come to high. Maybe I help my teammates get high. Maybe I go, get a secret. And then maybe, I push low, potentially kill a weapon, potentially secure another weapon for teammates, and then, maybe I take another secret, and then maybe I repeat that whole process. So I think, if you're the only rocket launcher, and the game is sort of like wide open, I think it's quite obvious that, you would be focusing on the quad, and you'd probably be doing a lot of moving around the map and fragging people and helping teammates secure items, as opposed to just sitting down here. When your teammate does get a weapon, and now you've got, let's say, 2 rocket launchers to 0, then I think, collectively the 2 of you would probably be doing something similar to what we just described. Potentially one of you might be here occasionally getting, these spawn frags, 1, 2, and 3, and also, to some extent guarding the tele as well. Okay, and then as you expand into 3 weapons and you're playing a pickup game, you'll probably hear an experienced player say, hey, you should go and hold tele. Okay. Maybe they specifically direct you to go and hold tele. And what they're talking about really is clamping down on this area and not only killing all these spawn frags and the people who come down, but controlling access through the teleporter to just the team only. Now, there's a few caveats you got to put on this, right? If there's any Div 0 or Div 1 players watching, they'll probably be thinking, tele isn't the be all and end all, because you can still trick to high, for example, as we've spoken about in past videos. People can rocket jump to high, either from here or from big. So just because you're sat down there and you haven't seen anyone get past you, doesn't mean that high is actually secure. Okay, and that's certainly a valid point. But for the example we're talking about here, let's assume that you've got 2 good players running this area of the map, the secret, the quad, the high, and so on. And your job that you've been assigned is purely just to kill these fresh spawners, kill the guys coming down here, and not die and not drop, of course. Okay, so we'll spend a few minutes now talking about how best to do that. And again, what I'm about to say may be a little controversial. Some people may do it a little bit differently, especially more skilled players. But personally, everything I'm about to say is how I typically approach this. So from a positioning standpoint, I think this is a good place to stand. The reason being, I have a direct kill here, and it probably makes sense to have your crosshair here as a default. I can easily dispatch enemies coming down from water. So as soon as you start to hear the jumping, you probably put your mouse up here. They may jump straight at you, in which case that will put them in the lava or kill them direct. They may jump all the way around, in which case that will probably do the same. And they may jump at you and then turn at the last second, and again you can deal with that quite easily. So these guys coming down should be fairly comfortable to kill these. Should be comfortable to kill this guy. This one's a little more tricky, but oftentimes all you need to do in that instance is just step back and let him decide what he's doing. Is he going to press the button and try and make a run for it? If so, splash and splash, or splash and kill, or whatever it needs to be. He may come straight at you, in which case the same thing. But oftentimes when they actually do press the button, they're actually benefiting you as opposed to them, right? So as your health starts to get whittled down a bit here, you do have this 1 health pack, and there are health packs up here. Potentially you could be taking this one if you're very quick, and then there's obviously 4 more that are a greater distance away. But you want them to open it, because if they open it, that means that when he runs up here like this, you can just kill him, step inside, take the yellow, come back out. Okay, or maybe the yellow isn't quite ready yet, in which case you can stand under this grate, and now I can just have these point blank shots until my yellow spawns, at which case I can just, grab it, come back out, and get back to my position. Okay, so certainly that gate being opened is actually a good thing more often than not for yourselves. And of course, they'll be bringing you some rocket ammo if they do come back up here after pressing the button. As to why I don't hold it from here, this is an easy shot to do, let's say. So you'll see people try and hold tele from here, right? So I guess they're not really clamping down on the tele as such. They're kind of trying to hold 4, potentially 5 spawns. But inevitably you'll get distracted by people here, and someone will slip. Okay, even if you're here, when that guy spawns down there, that's an easy rocket, but inevitably he'll probably press the button at some point, or someone will press it. As soon as that button is pressed, this spawn here then becomes a real threat, because that guy can immediately turn around and go. And if you're shooting here or whatever, and he spawns, you have to be rather quick to try and stop that. Once you're down here, the chances of the enemy actually slipping are massively, massively reduced. And that's why I think prioritizing this position is for the best. Okay. As you start to get weak, you may need to leave the area. Okay, and that will probably involve slipping. It may occasionally, if you're getting flooded by the spawns like this, it may be that you grab this pack and maybe you go and get some more health packs, but you'll probably have an idea that you are getting weak, and you'll need to tell teammates that you're going to slip, and then you need to slip. And what I would say is, when you're walking down here, and please make sure to always hug the wall when you walk down here. Sometimes you will see players do this and press and then do that straight over the spawns, which is fine if you have nothing, but if you do have something, please don't do that. Continue to hug the wall both ways. But when you get weak here, and you think, okay, I'm going to have to go and press the button and get the yellow and leave the area, you are very, very vulnerable at this point. Because if someone spawns when you're walking down here, if this guy spawns or this guy spawns, you're probably dead, depending on what your stack is. So if you do need to open the tele yourself, you probably want to go down there a little bit earlier than you'd like to, just to press it and be able to take it, because otherwise it is very risky. If you do need to slip, then, and you're slipping super weak, it's probably better to come and grab these health packs and maybe those health packs, as opposed to standing here with 10 health and then trying to do this, where one shotgun would take you down straight away. Okay. So, for me, this is the position. It makes this very easy, it makes that rather easy. I think it makes this very easy. And then it's really just about not taking splash damage, making sure your rockets are accurate, using the health, using the armor, slip if you have to, health packs up there. Okay. Now, that's all well and good. It makes it sound quite easy. It won't always be that easy, because sometimes, unfortunately, you'll have guys with red coming down, which then becomes a problem. And sometimes the enemy rocket launcher will come down. So maybe, your quad presses low and the guys in back room slip to big and they make their way through water. And if that is happening, and if you do know that there is a strong rocket at water, this is not a good fight to take, because you've probably got a yellow at most. They've got at least a good red. And you don't want to be taking this uphill fight. So in that instance, I'd probably be laying down some spam and then, desperately, maybe this is a good rocket to stop them jumping across, or you can shoot here, but probably here. Trying to just get out of there and slip. Okay. So that's why I stand down there. And then the other thing is, that's not a lifetime position. Right, you still got to be recognizing what is happening with the teammates. So, we spoke about you've got 2 teammates who are doing the red and the quad and the high and so on and so forth. If they start to die or struggle, or one of them dies, you need to recognize that you will be in a good position to take quad, and probably makes the most sense to take it through the tele, and maybe you scoop this on the way if it's there, because recognizing you've just left your post and now you can take the quad. Okay, so you do have to realize what's going on. It's not just simply, I'm going to stand here until I die. You may be called upon, or I guess promoted to one of the other positions along the way. And of course, don't drop a weapon down here. That's pretty key. The only other thing that I would say is, with that in mind and that approach to holding the tele, if you're the person who's actually trying to flood the tele and the enemy's standing here, in terms of how best to do that, I often find that maintaining a bit of distance allows you to hit the shotguns more effectively. Because if the guy is standing there, then you'll probably get him once doing that, but you'll be instantly dead. And similarly, maybe you get him once doing this, but again, it's quite an easy kill for him. Whereas if you just sort of appear here and you're trying to do this kind of stuff, you have greater success with that. If you're on this spawn, you probably just need to rush at him like that and try and inflict a bit of splash. This spawn, again, creating the distance a little bit can be quite good. The other thing to bear in mind is that, as we spoke about, oftentimes if you press this, you may be helping him unwittingly. And secondly, if you're just fighting this guy one-on-one, the longer you stay alive, the greater the chances are that someone spawns or someone comes down. And it's when you have 2 or 3 teammates in the fight against that tele guy that you can do the most damage. Okay, so I think trying to pick those shots and make them count can sometimes be more effective than simply blindly jumping at him. With that said, if he's very inexperienced, I think that's when people will panic and take a lot of self-damage, and they're probably not as good at sort of creating that distance when the enemy comes at them to minimize the splash. Okay, so you will have a view of who the tele guy is a lot of the time, and whether they're a very good player or a bit of an average player, and that can affect the approach a little bit. But yeah, I think a little bit of distance can be quite a good thing. And obviously, if you can get down there with an armor, and potentially it's sometimes a yellow from big, because you spawn in big, take a yellow, and then look to push. That can pay dividends as well. So I think I'll wrap this up here, and I'm just going to talk in the next video about when you expand control even beyond this, right? So you sort of go from the 3 weapons to maybe the 4 weapons, and you take down the low armor as well, the low rocket launcher as well, and then you have a full map lock, right? And that's when the guys will be spawning very quickly indeed. And they're probably going to target the tele more often than not in that situation, because when the low is locked, it is very hard to take it back. And at that point, a lot of the enemy's efforts will turn towards sort of dethroning you from this position on tele. And that's when you're going to see a lot of guys coming down here, and you need to be really comfortable executing these principles that we just spoke about.